Hello everybody, Matt the Gamer Train here, and welcome to my retrospective of Thomas and Friends Wonders of Sodor. And today we are going to be talking about the overall thoughts of the game, my predictions of what could come next to the game, and anything else in between. So, let's get started, shall we? So you're probably wondering, Matt, what is Thomas and Friends Wonders of Sodor? Thomas and Friends Wonders of Sodor is a train simulation game made by Dovetail Games. In this game, there are 4 different game modes you can play. One is Story Mode, where you basically can play through the different iconic stories like Thomas Goes Fishing or Thomas and Birdie. There's also the Timetable Mode, where basically you could drive the engines going through one of their daily jobs. So like Thomas going up to his branch line or Gordon pulling the express. There's also the shunting challenge, where basically it tells you need to shunt these certain types of train cars in a certain order. And if you're able to do it in less moves as possible, you'll get more points. And finally there's Explore Mode, where, you guessed it, you can explore the island itself. You can visit places like Natford, Thomas's branch line, or even Vickerstown. You can also find different collectibles throughout all the 4 modes in the game, like trying to look for the different Railway Series books, or even Mr. Conductor's hats. And there's also random posters you could also find. In this segment, I'll be talking about certain locations I would like to see changed. Such example is Farquhar Station here, with Thomas. What Dovetail did with Farquhar's layout is how similar they recreated to look like the TV series Farquhar layout, and then later the CGI series. What I think they should do is make it look more closer to how Wilbur Audrey made his Farquhar layout. Me and my friends in Minecraft, we have recreated our own take of that Farquhar layout. So, those are my thoughts of how I think Farquhar could change. The next location I'm going to be spotlighting is Tidmouth Station. The one thing I do like about Tidmouth Station alongside its building is the creative liberty of them adding this footbridge. The main thing I don't like, or I think they should definitely change, is the shunting yard. In the TV series, the shunting yard was a lot bigger, and it had a small engine shed for Thomas, Percy, and Toby. And so I think they should make Tidmouth Station look more close to that. The last location I'm going to be spotlighting is Crovan's Gate. Now everyone has talked about Crovan's Gate changing, and I don't blame them. It looks very poorly put together. Like the engine sheds that the Scarlowy Railway engines stay at don't look like the actual sheds that they're supposed to stay at. Same with the workshop and other minor details. And so I hope Crovan's Gate could change someday. In this segment, I took the time to make a list of all the characters I would like to see come to the game next. Such example like what type of story they could have, or what kind of rolling stock they could have. The first character I'm going to be spotlighting is the one who started it all, Edward the Blue Engine. Here's what I think how Edward should be handled in Wonders of Sodor. With Edward, I think he should be a base game character, alongside his branch line, the Brandon branch line. The first possible story that I thought of was Edward's Day Out. How they should handle Edward's Day Out is how they handled it in the TV series, where they combined the story Edward's Day Out and Edward and Gordon to be one long story. Possible gameplay could be Edward picking up his coaches and taking them to the station, and then taking them down the main line to every station. And then for the possible Edward and Gordon portion would be just basically the retelling of Edward and Gordon, but with the gameplay being Edward helping Gordon up the hill. The other possible story that I thought of was Edward's exploit. In Edward's exploit, Edward took a rail tour around the island. On the way back to the main station, something went wrong and they had to stop. The possible gameplay that I thought of is you having to go along the train to loosen the couplings of the coaches and taking one of Edward's side rods off, like how it's described in the story. And finally, the rolling stock I think Edward should have, and some of the others as well, is the cream and green passenger coaches you see in Season 1. Also alongside like the coaches that Annie and Clarabelle are, but without their faces or nameplates. So those are my thoughts on how I think Edward should be handled in Wonders of Sodor. Let me know in the comments how you would do it differently. The next character I'll be spotlighting is Henry the Green Engine. With Henry the Green Engine, I think he should be a DLC character, alongside an alternate variant of him as his old shape. One of the stories that I thought of was the sad story of Henry, where Henry got scared of the rain and decided to hide in the tunnel. Gameplay wise, I would think you could be able to, break Henry up inside said tunnel. The other story that I thought of was the Flying Kipper. In the Flying Kipper, Henry takes a fish train down the main line, and then ends up having a big crash. Gameplay wise, I would think you'd be able to take the fish train down the main line, and then recreating the said crash. The only thing I think would be very difficult to recreate is the crash itself. Like in the game, if you somehow derail or miss one of the markers, the game will just automatically fail you, or sometimes it will just ragdoll the train. And finally, the possible rolling stock is what I have written down in my list, is just more rolling stock, just more variants of rolling stock than what we already have. So those are my thoughts on how I think Henry should be added to the game. Let me know in the comments what you would do differently. The next character I'm going to be spotlighting is actually two characters. Duck the Great Western Engine and Oliver the Great Western Engine. With Duck and Oliver, I think they both should be base game characters. Like how when the game came out, you started off with 5 characters. Also can't forget Duck's branch line, the Little Western, or the Alsborough branch line. Focusing on Duck for a minute, the first possible story that I thought of was Duck and the Diesel Engine. Hey guys, Editor Matt here. I'm here to tell you that I made a slight mistake when I was recording the Duck and Oliver segment, where I confused the Duck the Diesel Engine storybook with the 2 stories of Pop Goes to Diesel and Dirty Work. And so I just wanted to clear that up and let you know those are the 2 stories I meant. I just confused them as one episode and misremembering the episode name. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. In Duck the Diesel Engine, we learn how Diesel came to the island, and at first he was very mischievous and very boastful about how revolutionary he was. And to try to get rid of Duck, he told lies to the trucks and to the other engines that Duck was calling them names. Possible gameplay could be Duck showing Diesel around the yards, and then later Diesel spreading the lies to the trucks about the other engines. The other story that I thought of was a sequel to Duck and the Diesel engine, called A Close Shave, or A Close Shave for Duck. In that story, after the rumors that Diesel spread about Duck, Duck was sent to Edward's station to help out there for a few days, up until Duck's big crash at a barber shop. Possible gameplay for that could be you recreating the crash with Duck going into the barber shop. The only thing though, like with Henry's crash, it'd be hard to recreate the crash with Duck because the train might get ragdolled around the area and make you fail. Moving on to Oliver. Oliver's first story that I thought of was the story Escape, where Oliver escapes from the other railway to Sodor for safety of being scrapped. The only thing though is how Oliver gets to Sodor. He had help by a certain character that's also on this list. I guess you could say that it could just be implied that he had help without having to have that character in the game. I don't know. Possible gameplay could be, I guess, Oliver escaping to Sodor. But you would have to make the other railway across the Victorstown Bridge, which I don't think they're going to do. So I guess this story wouldn't really work. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you would think of how Escape could work as a gameplay for this game. The other story that I thought of was Toad Stands By, where there was a truck called Scruffy that was being very mean to Oliver and having the other trucks and him sing rude songs about him. Up until where Toad had enough and got Oliver to rip Scruffy apart. Possible gameplay for that is you setting up the train that a Scruffy will be attached to, and then his overall fate of being ripped apart. Possible rolling stock I can think of for them both is, for Duck at least, more Great Western themed rolling stock, especially his two auto coaches from the Railway series, Alice and Mirabelle. And for Oliver, of course, we have to have Toad the Brakeman himself, also alongside Scruffy, a rusty version and a fixed version. And we can't forget Oliver's auto coaches called Isabelle and Dulcie from the Railway series. And so, those are my thoughts on how I think Duck and Oliver should be handled in Wonders of Sodor. Let me know in the comments how you would do them differently. The next set of characters I'll be spotlighting is Donald and Douglas, the Scottish twins. With Donald and Douglas, I think they should be DLC characters, like Henry. The first story that I thought of that could recreate is the story Brake Van. In the story Brake Van, we're introduced to Donald and Douglas. We also learn one of the twins was not supposed to come to Sodor. We're also introduced to this brake van that's dubbed the Spiteful Brake Van that doesn't like one of the twins. Because the Spiteful Brake Van doesn't like one of the twins, the brake van gets his comeuppance by accidentally being smashed to pieces by one of the twins by helping another engine up Gordon's Hill. Possible gameplay could be you as one of the twins is helping pushing another engine up Gordon's Hill, but the Spiteful Brake Van was attached to the train. And so you're basically recreating the accident of the Spiteful Brake Van getting smushed to pieces. The other story that I thought of was the Deputation. In the Deputation, one of the engines got stuck in the snow and Donald and Douglas was sent to help. Also, they were worried that one of them might get sent away because one was not supposed to be there. and because of the previous incidents due to the brake van being smushed. And they made a plan to have one of the other engines talk to Sir Topham Hatt and convincing him to keep them both. Possible gameplay could be you as Donald and Douglas are helping this other engine that got stuck in the snow and helping them get free. And then, when they made the plan to talk to Topham Hatt, you as that other engine are going off to find him. And for the rolling stock, I would think you should just be able to have the spiteful brake van alongside a bunch of other rolling stock. And so those are my thoughts on how I think Donald and Douglas should be handled in Wonders of Sodor. Let me know in the comments how you would do it differently. The next character I'm going to be spotlighting, he was on my honorable mentions list, but I actually thought of things to talk about for him, and that character is Toby the Tram Engine. With Toby the Tram Engine, I think he should be a DLC character. The story that I thought of for Toby was Toby the Tram Engine. In Toby the Tram Engine, we learn that Sir Topham Hatt goes on vacation with his family, and they meet Toby. We also learn that Toby's branch line is closing. Gameplay wise, I could think of is you as Toby driving the Hatt family around the branch line. Speaking of the branch line, I would think Toby's branch line should just be on the island itself, just like how the TV series portrayed it, but have it like attached to say Duck's branch line somewhere, and have it be like abandoned if you don't have Toby's DLC. Possible rolling stock is, of course, we need Henrietta to go along with Toby. And those are my thoughts on how I think Toby should be taken care of in Wonders of Sodor. Let me know what you would do differently. Before we move on to our final set of characters, I want to do a quick honorable mentions of characters I couldn't think of stories or rolling stock for. And those characters are Daisy, Mavis, Boko, and Bill and Ben. And so, those are the characters I would like to see to come to the game one day, but not expecting them right away. And now, the last set of characters are the Skarloey Railway engines. With the Skarloey Railway engines, I think some of them should be base game characters, and some could be like a DLC or something. In Wonders of Sodor, as usual, you can spawn an engine, say like Thomas or something, just an example, I'm going to put him on his own. You could spawn Thomas, obviously on standard gauge track, because he's a standard gauge engine. But also, with the narrow gauge track, you can also spawn a standard gauge engine on narrow gauge track. But obviously, it doesn't, work. I mean, he works on the track, but it just doesn't look good. So, one thing I could propose in the game, at least, you should do something special with the narrow gauge engines if you want to put them on standard gauge track. And that is a special wagon. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put a picture of it on the screen, if I can find one, of a narrow gauge engine on this special type of flatbed that the narrow gauge engine can basically use to travel on the standard gauge track. So I think that'd be kind of cool if they could represent something like that. And for the rolling stock, of course, should just be a bunch of narrow gauge themed rolling stock. Like their coaches, their slate wagons, Rusty's, breakdown crane thing. And so yeah. And so those are my thoughts on how I think the narrow gauge engines should be handled in Wonders of Sodor. Let me know in the comments how you would do them differently. And so, those are all the characters I would like to see come to Wonders of Sodor at some point. I should have said this at the beginning of this section where and how the rules should have worked, like what characters I thought should have been base game characters and what characters should have been DLC characters. Before I go to my final thoughts section, I asked one of my friends who also played the game and how they thought of the game and what characters they theorized should come to the game next. So, let's move over to that conversation, shall we?
Hi, bud.
Hello, Mr. Brett.
Hey.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Mr. Brad's Builds. Hello. Who Brad anywhere else other than YouTube? I've loved railways and steam engines my whole life, and I think that's somewhat related to why you wanted to talk to me.
Yes, I was wondering if you'd like to answer some questions about the Wonders of Sodor game that came out earlier in the year.
Oh, sure thing.
The first question is, what was your first thoughts and opinions on the game?
Ooh. Okay. The game definitely made a good first impression. Uh, when it was announced, I was definitely excited and quickly joined the hype train. Now that it's been out for some time, I've had time to play it, complete it, do all the scenarios, etc. It's a great start, and I appreciate the effort they've put into timetable mode and like having everything operate realistically.
Yeah,
It's clear that they've really done put in some time and effort and like some sincere work to it. However, there are times where, like, especially on the main line, it just feels like a ghost town. It's like when you're
right.
operating James or
And any of the
Emily, especially,
characters.
because you can just, especially there's the stretch of 6 miles between two stations where it's just
Nothing.
nothing. So like that's probably my biggest criticism. However, I don't see it lasting because as the game updates, more engines will be added. So
Mm-hmm.
we would only hope to see more action along the main line.
Especially since they're part of their Wonders of Sodor is gonna be part of the next dev vlog or whatever those are called.
Oh, the Dovetail Directs,
Yes,
yes.
thank you.
I'm very excited for that.
Can't wait to see that too. So moving on to question 2, what characters would you like to see come to Wonders of Sodor?
Ooh. It's a franchise with a lot of choices.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so definitely like I feel like an honourable mention is the anyone from the Skarloey Railway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
I feel like that should be like a base game update for all 6 of them.
like yeah, that would be a cool like a branch line pack or something. But with my earlier issue of the main line being so dead, all my suggestions are going to be standard gauge.
Makes sense.
Uh, yeah, so a couple choices I'd like to see is like single packs, like how James was. I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
see Henry.
Yeah.
He you could get maybe some specialized rolling stock for him to
Yeah.
pull the flying kipper.
Just
You
have just
you could
more
do
rolling stock, like
yeah
longer vans, flatbeds, tanker. Oh, we have tankers alright from James, but you
yeah
know.
yeah, and then like Henry could have you could replay through like trying to think of stories that work you could easily replicate in the game. Maybe whistles and sneezes
Oh, this one.
and
Sorry.
big strong Henry.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah,
One of the
and
ones I
then
thought of was Sad Story of
mm,
Henry,
mm,
but the gameplay being you breaking Henry up in the tunnel.
well, that'd be a bit mean. Or like fill in the bucket of of water for
Yeah,
Thomas goes fishing.
Thomas. Yeah,
God,
this
that would be tedious.
But that okay, I would say it wouldn't for that. I would feel like it shouldn't take that long. Say you put like one brick or two, and it makes like say like
Oh, yeah, I
five.
see what you mean.
Kind of like
Yeah,
what I'm doing with my Drive Henry Minecraft parody. I'm doing something similar, or did something
yeah,
similar.
okay. And then, and there's a second single pack character. I'd love to just see Toby.
Yeah.
Toby, have him come with Henrietta.
Oh, definitely.
There's
You can have
just
them out each
it
other.
feels so lonely, like having, not lonely, but missing Thomas and Percy, but no Toby for the Farker
Like, yeah.
triplets.
What about like
Like
for
you've got
Henrietta? Would you give her a face, or would you have her be faceless?
uh Annie and Clarabelle have CGI faces, so I'd imagine they'd do the CGI Henrietta face. But yeah,
Yeah.
Toby had a little lamb would be an easy one to replicate in the game, and Toby's afternoon off might be fun,
I don't
going all over the
remember those
place.
2 episodes. I'll have to,
You have to watch them when you edit.
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Or look at the
yeah,
screenshots.
and like it's a hope, but I doubt it. I think anyone who's got the deluxe edition, because you got James for free with deluxe.
I
What
don't.
if you get all of the single characters they add as
I don't know. I
automatically with
guess we'll have to
deluxe?
see, but I don't know if it's gonna work like that. Like maybe like I feel like if you did
Mm,
got the deluxe edition, it'd feel weird. Like if you already had. I don't know. I'll have to
yeah,
see on how that would work.
yeah. But then going from single characters, we got a bit more in depth branch line expansions.
Hmm.
I would love the
Well,
Brendan
yeah.
branch.
Well, here's what I think with like map extensions. I feel like those should be base game. I feel like it'd be unfair to have those locked as a
Mm,
DLC. That, in my opinion. But we'll see what you
I
think.
could see like the argument of the company wise, you'd be like the game is still playable without them. We've played for this long without them, even though I
True.
would do agree. But yeah, no. So hypothetical Brendan expansion. You obviously star character is you gotta have Edward.
Yeah.
Two easy stories to do for Edward. Bertie's Chase and Saved from Scrap, because who doesn't want to see Terrence, not
Mm.
Terrence, Trevor
Trevor.
get added to the game?
But what about stories like Edward's exploit? Like, over that.
I wanted to say that, but it's also you kind of need to like simulate the damage on the engine, and I don't know if they would
I mean, they could go as simple as
go
what
through
they
with
said
that.
in this in the TV series, where they just implied the accident and then just removed Edward's
Yeah,
side rods, which that could be the gameplay, and then going along the
possibly.
coaches and loosening the couplings.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, and then what's along Brendan Bay?
The
The
China,
Brendan branch,
the China clay,
Brendan Harbour.
Harbor,
Who
the China
lives
clay
there?
quarry.
Salty. We gotta have Salty for the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
And
gonna be
Cranky.
driving Cranky mad? So couple options for Salty. Salty's Secret or Salty's Stormy Tale. They could
Hmm.
both fit relatively easily into the structure of how the stories get turned into it. Um, like you said, Bill and Ben, because you can't have the
It,
Brendan branch without the clay pits.
mm-mm.
You could easily do one good turn or no sleep for Cranky. Like they could work quite well in the game.
I feel like speaking of Cranky, I actually wouldn't know how they would get Cranky to work. I know it could be a crane, but would he
Well,
be like it's
mm,
obviously just like a static crane that
yeah,
like
maybe mildly animated in that he occasionally rotates a bit.
mm-hmm. Like say like the
Yeah,
biplane when if you're by say like Natfred and you see the biplanes go by, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I could see that. Okay, and then with my hypothetical branch line ideas, I've done it so it's 4 characters, and I would really like to see Boko.
Yes,
I
I
don't
think
think he's a
everyone wants to see
realistic
Boko
option,
again.
but I mean he's one of my faves.
Mm-hmm.
He's been absent for ages. He's
So
also a
long.
bit more Diesel representation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just standard '08 Diesel. We've got we've got another option.
I would like
And you've
Mavis.
got yeah, we she I think she'd be a good single pack character. But Boko easily, especially if you've got Bill and Ben, do the Diesel story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be
That would be
perfect.
fun.
Oh,
Or
it'd be
Wrong
funny to
Road.
finally see like how, because they obviously could do proper like animated faces. I would wonder how
Yeah.
they would do like the eye movement like from the
Well,
original episode.
they replicated the Thomas Shock face for fishing.
Yeah.
Thomas Goes Fishing. So I'd hope they'd redo the Boko face. Yeah.
Speaking of like the basis of Boko, what about Daisy? But they modeled like how they did in the series, TV series, where they just took Boko's model and redressed it up
I'd
as
imagine
Daisy.
they'd surely do CGI face, right?
Well, obviously,
'Cause-
they would have to like Boko's never been in CGI, so they would have to make a CGI face to fit the theme.
Yeah, they
It
could do
couldn't be
that.
that hard.
Yeah. Then I do have a second branch line idea. The Little Western branch.
Hmm.
Imagine
Yes.
passing through Tidmouth,
The
through
time.
that tunnel. You get to Tidmouth Hole. You get to end at Owlsbury. You get all the nice things. You get a beached Bulstrode along
Hmm.
the shore. That would be fun.
It'd be fun to be like I know in in the game there are like certain invisible wells in certain
Yeah.
areas. I hope like you can be they put a visible wall, sorry, around Boast Road. That would be cool. So you can actually go up to him.
Oh, I would hope so. Yeah. Yeah. So on the Brendan branch, you've got Duck. Instantly, I've got two ideas that I think would be really fun to replicate. Bulgy.
Hmm.
I mean
They have double-decker
that story.
buses, so they can easily reskin one Vivaldi.
I mean, they've got the buses, but I think they'd make a custom model for Bulgy just
Yeah.
because, otherwise he's gonna look really weird compared to Bertie.
That's the other
Yeah, and then
thing.
you've
Sorry to interrupt. I'll say it after you finish.
and then the other story is Duck and the Slip Coaches.
That means you have to add the slip coaches, but also that's an easy reskin of the express coaches. That's what they did in the show.
Yeah, and they could easily do that.
I would think to make that a bit more different, like it could do the slip coach idea, but replace the three slip coaches with Duck and Oliver's Rally Series slip coaches or auto coaches like
Mm,
Alice and Mirabelle or I can't remember
yeah.
their Isabel and Dulcie.
Mhm. They could do. I, I mean, they made the game by saying they're taking bits from the books, bits from the model, bits from CGI.
From
So
all
it's entirely
eras.
possible.
Besides all agents
But
go, of course.
I also slightly worry that they're just gonna default to CGI for everything.
Mainly because that's like the latest, and it's probably like what most of
It's more easily accessible models to
that and
take and use.
that, and also they would want to do realistic details. Like most of the late, not all of them got all updated. They probably just have to update some of them, or also probably rescale some of them. Because like what happened with
Yeah.
James and the express coaches, where they were rescaled to fit better.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Another character, Oliver. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the two little westerns. You got Toad Stands By and
Mm.
Oliver's Find.
Oh, that was
Think
one
limitations
I
of the game.
mentioned for and Toby's like.
Hey,
Uh,
great minds.
I didn't. That wasn't what the episode I mentioned, but it was the episode. I was just a
Yeah.
screenshot I showed the show Toby's branch line on the attached Little Western. That's what I would think it would
Mhm.
be placed.
Okay. Oh, and can't forget Donald and Douglas,
Of course.
honorary members of the Little Western.
Mm-hmm.
You got Bad Day at Castle Lock and Donald's Duck.
The
I
two
just
that
think it's a
the two
fun
I
one.
didn't think of. The two I thought of was, the deputation and their induct introduction episode. with Brake Van.
Okay. And my final pick for the fourth engine on, because I mean Bill, Ben, Donald Douglas, they count as one really. It's the same model. My fourth pick is a bit out there, but I'm a big fan of Harvey, and I
Hmm.
think he could be right at home on the Little Western.
Uh,
He's come to rescue on like Bulgy's Bridge a few times, I think.
I
So,
feel like Harvey
yeah,
could be like a good like character. He could fit anywhere. Obviously, he could fit the
yeah,
docks. He could fit over in Crovansgate, Vickerstown. Anywhere.
yeah. He had less episodes to pull from for ideas, but I did manage to still come up with two. You've got Harvey to the rescue, and it's one I suggested for Donald and Douglas as well, but A Bad Day at Castle Lock.
Hmm,
They're all in it, so it kind of
it's true.
works for them all being in the pack.
So what about like rolling stock for all the characters you have mentioned? We talked about Henry, what rolling stock he could have, but what about all the other characters? Like obviously with Oliver, we have to have Toad.
Toad and Scruffy.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I said.
Delightful Break Van for Donald and Douglas.
Okay, you're okay. We're have the same brain. Those are the ones I
Um,
said.
I mean, that like what else do you go for?
True.
Like, I don't know what you'd give Harvey unless
The breakdown
you
crane.
actually add the breakdown train into the game.
I would make that functional in a way too, like a simulate functionality. It doesn't have to actually
Hmm,
work.
possibly.
It would have been
Can't
perfect to
think of
use for the
anything
maintenance
else.
um uh thing with I think Gordon taking trucks to a certain section of the line. That would have been worked to have
Yeah,
the breakdown crane in the background.
yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's about all the things that come to mind for my what I'd like to see. But as long as they just keep supporting the game and keep adding,
Yeah.
eventually anything and everything people are wanting will probably come, as long as it's reasonable. So
Yeah. It makes
you
sense
just
to
gotta
like
kind of hope.
it makes sense to the function of the game. Like people are saying
Yeah.
they want Diesel 10. I don't know. I don't think Diesel 10 could
Mm.
work. Because if you have Diesel 10, you have to have Lady in Splatter and Dodge.
Not necessarily.
True.
CGI didn't pay any attention to those three. Just Diesel
True.
10.
Hopefully they fix his
Yeah.
model for because Diesel 10's model in CGI got just messed up. I
Mm.
think.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. So thank you very much, bud.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you, Brad, for appearing in this video. As always, his links will be in the description, so check him out. Now on to my final thoughts. Like what Brad said earlier, the game feels very empty along the route. In their other train simulator game, they have actual moving cars around on the roads and people occasionally walking around. I hope one day Wonders of Sodor will get the similar treatment. They have vehicles, and I just hope they, actually put animation to them just moving in the background. Same with Birdie, having him just appear just driving around Farquhar. And now, so is this game perfect? No, there are definitely flaws. All games have flaws. But do I see the potential for this game? Absolutely. Like what me and Brad have said, future expansions to expand out the world with the different branch lines from the show. And or just filling out more of just the world with more characters. And just more scenery based on those characters and just the overall world. Now, the one thing that I didn't think about until after the conversation with Brad was all the different other little things you can do, like other collectibles. Would they add more collectibles like they did with the collecting the books, the little guards whistles, and Mr. Connector's hats? Would they do something more like that, or would they do something more unique? Who knows? And what about challenges? If you had Edward, would you slowly unlock bits of the Vicarage Orchard if it was all decorated for a party. And what about the unused content? There was a lot of unused content that was found in the game files, like a shunting challenge at Wellsworth. They just used Thomas for the example, but would they replace Thomas with Edward if Edward was added? And what about having them going down as far as going down to the random docks if they added Salty? And or the China Clay Quarry with Bill and Ben. I could actually kind of see taking what they did with Thomas and Diesel's shunting challenge and have Bill and Ben going against each other. I think that would be kind of fun. And would I recommend this game to a Thomas fan? Absolutely. Yes, the game has flaws, but all games have flaws when they're new. And I agree with the selection of characters that were chosen. You have Diesel to represent the Diesels of Train Simulation, and Emily for the female representation of a full male cast. And I'm hopeful for the future of this game, because this game has very much potential in adding, characters and more scenery and locations of the iconic world. Well, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed my review on Wonders of Sodor. I can't wait to see the future of this game. And as usual, if you'd like to see more from me, why not consider subscribing? And leave a comment on what you thought of the video. And then ring the notification bell as well, so you can stay up to date when I post a video. Well, that's been me. I'll see you in another video. Goodbye!